Welcome back to my vegan plant-based journey. I am going to cook a katuk dish. That's the plant right behind me. It grows really lushly and it's beautiful. It's actually more nutritious than spinach in some areas. I'll include some health benefits or nutritional facts. But this is a dish I'm going to show you how to make. It's something that Corey loves. Anyone locally that would like to try it out, I'm more than happy to share. And look at this beautiful elderberry. I need to harvest that. I don't know if I can pinch it off or not. Ooh, I can. So this is what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to freeze this, and when it comes time for me to use it, I can just pull them, rattle them around on the stem, and they'll come off really easily because they're frozen. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to boil it before consuming it. Look up specifics on how to prepare elderberry. Boy, and while we're out here, I see a bunch of Barbados cherries that are ripe. So I'm gonna pick some. So I'm back inside. I have my Barbados cherry, and they are beautiful. Of course, the darker, the more red, the sweeter. They tend to be a little bit, I don't know, tart if they're not fully red. But these have a lot of vitamin C in them, even more so than oranges. One of these things has, I don't know, 10 times that of an orange. I believe I'm right. And then over here are all the clusters that I picked of elderberry. Now when you pick these, if you happen to be fortunate enough for it to be growing in your yard, you want to make sure that they're all this deep purple black color before you harvest it. Alright, so I've bagged, I did not wash them. You can if you want, but I don't see the need. I bagged each clump in a separate bag in case I want to use them at different times, and just dated them. And that's it. I'll probably use them all at one time, boil them down. I'm still learning how to prepare this, but I have learned this much, and I have made elderberry tea, and it was fine. I could have used more berries to make it stronger, but that's what I'm doing with this right now. I did get some tomatoes and a couple of peppers out of the garden. I left this one too long, but I can still use the rest of it. And this one, I was afraid to let it stay any longer, even though I'm happy that it has red. It turned red. These aren't the best looking tomatoes, but if I had left them out there, they wouldn't have really stood a chance. They'd have just continued to get baked by the sun, or bad spots would have expanded. So my lunch today is leftover breakfast, which was left over from last night's supper. It is vegan mac and cheese. It's elbows and cashew cheese, which I usually don't like cashew cheese, but I absolutely love this one. This is one that my husband created. And I just mixed in green peas. It may not look that appetizing, but it's actually really good. Of course, the macaroni and the cheese, it looks much better when it's fresher. I did not reheat this, so it kind of looks pasty. But when you're eating it fresh, it is not. So that's what I'm having for lunch. So interestingly enough, on this dish that I'm eating for lunch, the cashews are, they have good magnesium and manganese and phosphorus and zinc, vitamin B6, vitamin K. The peas have potassium, vitamin C and B6, and even magnesium as well. And then the nutritional yeast flakes that are used to make the cheese sauce, it has a lot of B vitamins in it as well. Thiamine, riboflavin, and pyridoxine. pyridoxine, not sure, and also zinc. So you do have a good source of various things here. So, all right, friends, here is the katuk. It's harvested. My husband Corey harvested it a couple days ago, or maybe 3. It keeps wonderfully in the refrigerator. I just keep it out open. I have it in a basket. I have not kept it in an airtight container. It's just what worked for me at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is I have a pan here, and I'm gonna turn it on medium heat. The first thing that I'm gonna do is put a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan, because my aim is to steam this. So what I'm gonna do is layer it. Okay, so that's probably good for 1 layer. And then I'm going to add a layer of Himalayan pink salt. You do this to your liking, obviously. And then I use paprika. Healthy bit. And so goes another layer of greens. Now what I have noticed that when I've cooked this before, because the leaves when they steam, they kind of meld together, it is better to chop this up. I just did not this time. I do want to try it that way. I think they'll get done more uniformly and quicker that way, but I just haven't done it. But I do think it's the better way to get them cooked. So I'm just going to do another layer, and then another layer. I usually cut up onion and sometimes pepper in this dish. I saute that first, and so that there's a base, kind of a saucy base, before I put the greens in. But I didn't do that. I haven't done that the last couple times I've cooked it, but it's definitely really good that way. I'm just getting all the remainder leaves. My husband absolutely loves this dish, and he's not a big greens person, so this may be a good alternative for your family. He doesn't really care for collards. Spinach he'll eat fine, but he really loves this. And he'll be happy that I'm making it today. He'll be home in about an hour. And then last but not least, I just put a sprinkle of seasoning salt on the top, and then cover. Now it's steaming up. I like to use tongs. You can see it's bubbling up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna toss it up a little bit, turn them, break them up as much as possible, so that the bottom ones get rotated out and the top ones get rotated in. I think I'm gonna put just a little bit more water in there because I want them to steam properly. I don't measure the water. I know that's not too much. It may look it, but I know it's not too much because eventually I'd have to add more too. So I'm just gonna move it around. And the nutrition facts are great about katuk. It actually has twice the iron that spinach does. I'll include a photo of nutrition facts in this video. but I just let it cook and periodically stir it up, move it around, and add water if I feel like it needs to have more water for steaming. You can see how it's wilting up and turning darker, and this isn't doing that yet. I'm just going to keep moving it around, separating them so that they get an even cook. They don't stick together and remain raw. It smells really good. Katuk is a very green tasting, I know that sounds kind of, it is green, but it's a very almost earthy tasting. It does not taste like spinach. It does not really taste like anything other than itself. It's really, when prepared well and seasoned well, it's wonderful. We'll taste it here after a while and make sure that the tenderness is where we want it. Ooh, it's all getting dark now. It's looking really good. At this point, if you wanted to add a little bit more water, you could, just to make sure that there was some kind of gravy, almost paprika gravy in there. Actually, I wasn't gonna, but I do think I want to add more. Just add the rest of that cup, and that'll make sure that it continues to get as tender as it can get. You just cook them as long as you need to get them to the tenderness that you prefer. Won't be long until they're done. Just going to cover it for a bit longer and we'll check it again. So, an update on my plant-based journey. While the Katuk is making, the first week, when I did all of that meal prep, went well. I did find it challenging in that sometimes Corey and I had worked so hard in the yard or just whatever came up, that we just went out to eat, or just different things come up. You know how that goes. I ended up having made too much of the salad green mix and too many potatoes, but I'm learning what works for us. All right, I think this is probably going to be the final check. Looks really nice and dark. See, that water cooked right out of it and into the greens, making it tender. So I am going to grab a fork right over here. We've got a mango harvest. They're not all great yet. We had a rainstorm, knocked several of them off, but more will be coming that will taste much better. A little bit. Let's see. Really good. I think it could cook a little bit longer, but for the most part, it's done. So, thanks for joining me with this. This is a wonderful dish. But to be honest with you, it's hard for me to be consistent with meal planning, which I need to get better at. But the meals that I have have gotten several meals out of that cookbook, and it is a guide. I just don't follow it to a T. Or I'll change up a meal, or just use it to make sure, to help me make sure that the meal contains everything in it that the other meal that she provides in the cookbook contains. I'm actually working between a few different books. One of them's another plant-based nutrition and that kind of thing. I feel like several sources is best, and that way you know if you're getting the right information, because several sources will either say the same thing or will add something more to enrich the information. So I will have another meal prep day. It's just sometimes it's a little bit challenging. I know that's not an excuse. I'm just not used to doing it, and making sure that everything's rotated in the refrigerator and make sure that we use it. Sometimes I don't really want what is up next to eat. Sometimes my husband doesn't want what's up next to eat, so that adds another challenge. But it's been a good process because I'm learning overall health, caloric intake, all the vitamins and minerals and nutrition that we need. So this has been good, and I'll just keep you guys updated. I hope you enjoyed the Katuk dish, and until next time, thanks for spending time with me.